which means we are going to talk to our Weather Guy Wednesday. We're going to talk to weather forecaster Dave Powell. Good morning, Dave.
Good morning, Misty. I was just thinking about you.
You were? Aw,
yeah, I thought, you know what? She's going to be calling on my phone here in just a minute.
Yep, and then I called, didn't I?
And then you called. I've got ESP. I'm an extra smart person.
I will agree with that. Well, Dave, I don't know what it's doing where you're sitting, but we just had like a pretty nice little downpour a minute ago.
Oh, really?
Right here in front of the station. We sure did.
Well, then you're in one of the, you're in 20% of 100% of the listening area.
Right?
That is the rain chances today is 20%.
I know. Well, I saw that and I was like, But yeah, we got it.
Well, I have been watching the stuff off to our west. There's a lot of stuff coming down out in the west, and we're really just in the edge of it. Actually, Princeton is, and Caldwell County, and I think some of those surrounding counties there are all in the process of having a little line of light showers move through. There is a embedded heavier rain every so often as you go along, but overall, this shouldn't last too long and not amount to much. What is more likely is a little later on this afternoon, there's still another line of showers crossing the Ohio and Mississippi rivers just west of Paducah, and that should get into the area, probably midday, something like that, if it holds together, because they do have a tendency to fall apart sometimes they get towards us. But overall, it's just a pattern of unsettled weather that we'll have to deal with for the next, 5 days, something like that. Probably at least till Sunday. And that also includes, unfortunately, our Saturday, the weekend. Saturday looks like a big washout. There's probably an 80% chance of rain that day and storms, high of about around 70. So it's not going to be overly cold, but it's definitely going to be showery and wet.
Is that going to be all day?
Yeah, well, pretty much.
Yeah.
Even Saturday night looks cloudy. But on the other hand, on Sunday, looks like it's going to be a sunny day with a high in the low 70s and just a little light northwest wind, so it'll be very pleasant. That'll be a nice day to get out, do whatever you want to do.
Mm.
And that looks like the same thing going into Monday. Then by Monday night, we start going into another round of showers and thunderstorms. It actually looks like we could get somewhere in the neighborhood of 1.5 inches to 2 inches of rain between now and Saturday night when everything comes to an end. So, at least it's not going to come all at once. If it were, we would be having widespread flash flooding and stuff like that, but it's going to come over a period of time. Our chances are not overly high. It looks like, over the next, probably 2 or 3 days, today or this evening, Thursday and Friday, I'll have about a 30 to 40% chance of showers. So that's, that's not real high. So that's not going to be a washout. Like I said, the only day it looks like a washout is going to be Saturday. And that's, of course, the day everybody wants to get out, go to the farmer's market.
Right. I was just going to say, so there is that farmer's market, which I was planning to try to swing by there. But also there is a 6K for the global water this weekend that I had just signed up for. So I was going to participate in that. Really rather not do it in the rain.
How many miles is that?
Yeah. Okay. Hold on, let me see if it tells me on here. I'll tell you what it is. It's the number of miles that a child has to walk to get to get water, to carry water back to their home in these underdeveloped countries. Okay, 3.72 miles is exactly what it is.
Well, I might make the .72, but there ain't no way I'll make the 3.
Well, I'm not going to run the whole. Well, I probably won't run any of it because my daughter's going to join with me, and she will not run. So I won't get to run any of it unless I run up and then run back and go walk with her, and then run up and then run back and walk with her. And
so you'll actually do about 6 point whatever miles.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah. If I do any running, well, yeah. So that starts at 8 o'clock. I mean, the registration starts at 8 o'clock, and then the actual event starts at 9, and I was really hoping to not do that in the rain, but guess we're going to be in the rain.
Where's it going to be held at?
It is at, where is this? Oh, it's at the Caldwell County High School track.
Oh, okay. So it's there in Princeton, so that's a good thing.
Okay, Princeton is a little less likely to be in that 80% chance.
No.
Okay, look, isn't this how it works? Since the 20% hit us today, it'll miss us that day, right? That's how that works.
Well,
right?
You can always hope. But I don't know. This is it's a front coming through, and of course, anytime you have a front, and it's kind of a slow mover too. This is really not what we need. The corn planting for the farmers is going really good. A lot of places didn't get all the rain that was advertised over the last week, so the fields have dried enough for them to get in the fields, and they're frantically trying to get all the corn crop in the ground, and they've started soybean planting. So, for the farmers' sake, let's hope that they have a very good year, because if you stop and think about it, up in the heavy corn belt producing states, remember they had all the flooding. So,
right.
This may be something where people be depending on us for the food for the country. So anyway, well, we always depend on farmers for food, but looks like it'll be even more so this year than it would have in years past.
More so in our area than it has been. Yeah.
And
see, I asked about that when all that flooding, when we were doing the disaster relief for the flooding, and all that stuff was going on. Right. I asked for some projections on how that would impact us come this spring, fall, whatever, and not even the crops, which I know that's what you're talking about, but the cattle and stuff. So I'm curious how that's going to affect our prices at the store when we when it hits us.
One of the problems we've had this past year because of the weather, or the past several months, is that the hay there was a shortage.
Mm-hmm.
And some farmers were having to liquidate their herds even because they didn't have enough food to feed their cattle to get them through the winter months.
Yeah.
And so some of them were able to buy hay at other locations. Some of them had to feed them supplements in order to keep their strength up and everything to try to get through. But, the fact of the matter is some of the herds were in pretty bad shape. And I haven't really heard how they are right now. I know that it has improved some since the growing season's begun again with the grasses coming up. But you got to be careful of a phenomenon called grass tetany early on. So just now we're getting out of that period where the grass tetany is a danger. And for listeners who don't know what that is, basically what it means is your new grasses that come up when the temperature is still pretty cool have a lack of magnesium. So therefore the cows that eat that, they get kind of a sickness, and it actually does kill them, and it's like a poison. So in order to avoid that, you feed them mineral supplements with magnesium, and that generally will prevent any problems. But once the temperature gets up above 60 degrees on a regular basis, and generally the grass tetany doesn't become an issue. But as time goes by, the grasses continue to grow, and the only thing is the cooler conditions we've had so far, which is not too bad. We've had a pretty good spring, to be honest with you, but it's eased the hay shortage some. It's just not quite over yet. There's still a little bit of shortage out there, but some farmers and livestock producers are feeling a little bit better about it. In fact, the overall herd is listed as 29% fair, 48% good, and 6% excellent. But that also means there's 3% very poor and 14% poor. So there's still some problems with some of the herds, but other than that, it's not as bad as it was earlier. So anyway, there you go. There's your farming report for the day.
Well, and of course, I don't have cattle or, swine or anything like that, but I have horses. And,
yes, you do.
So I am very interested in what's going to happen to the hay. That's a big thing for me. A lot of times we hold our breath. Are we going to get a second cutting? Sometimes, they don't even get the first cutting. And
True.
A lot of us, when we're talking about horse hay, we want that second or, a third cutting is like the prime, if we can get a third cutting.
Yeah.
But then by the time the second cutting rolls around, we're sitting here holding our breath. Will there be a third cutting? Should I go ahead and buy it now? Should I go ahead and get it? Because there might not be a third cutting. So I'm just curious how there's, what the first cutting is going to look like because of all the, we were just talking to Joni, our last guest, and we brought up the fact that, we had all these thunderstorms over the winter. did that affect things going into the spring? The weather that we had over the winter, and what's that going to do to our hay, issues this spring?
Well, obviously, our agriculture interests are greatly dependent on the weather, so that's why I'm so involved with the ag industry a little bit as far as just giving a little report. But I'm just reading here, it says that the hay supply is still reported as 62% either very short or short. So that's a lot. There's only about 35% reported as being adequate and 3% surplus. So there is still a shortage of hay going on. It's not over yet, but hopefully it will ease as time goes by. That does seem to be the case. It'll be headed towards, but we'll just have to watch and see, depending on, again, the weather, how it affects us, how much rain you get, the temperatures, all that stuff plays a big part in your hay supplies.
Right, and that's been the thing in the years past, that we seem to have had a lot of rain, like first real early on, and there wasn't enough gap to allow the fields to dry enough for the farmers to get out there, or I don't know if they're farmers, but the hay people to get out there. Because I don't know a lot about the hay process. I don't do it myself. I don't cut it and bale it. But what I understand is they have to cut it, then it has to lay there for a few days and cure, I guess.
Yes, dry, kind of.
Yeah, and then they have to go in and bale it, but then they have to let it sit there in the field to cure again after it gets baled, because they can't put it right up, or it'll possibly cause a fire.
Mold.
Well, and mold, yeah. But so they have to have like a pretty long stretch of good sunny days following a couple good sunny days where they can cut it. And that has been a problem. And, I know last year it was a real problem. The year before, it seems like they kind of got at the edge of, can we cut? Can we not cut? And so I hold my breath every year. Am I going to get hay for my horses this year? Am I going to have to travel to New York to get hay,
Right. Well, all of us, I don't care who you are, but all of us are dependent on the farming and agricultural industry to provide, like I said, provide our food, and what affects them is going to eventually affect us, whether it be immediately or in our pocketbooks as prices in the stores increase because of the shortage of certain things. And this year, I don't know. It's going to be it's hard to say right now. Some of the crops are looking pretty good. Winter wheat's not looking bad. The strawberries and apples and peaches all look like they survived the late cold fairly well. Lost a few, but not nearly what we could have. So that part's looking good. We're just going to have to see what the soybean crop and the corn crop, if they can get them in the field and coming up. The corn crop, from what I read, is actually ahead of last year, but below the 5-year average. So that's not bad. That's, of course, last year, you remember we had a very cold April, and then we had an extremely hot May. And so that was a tough year for corn growers. And I don't know too much about the soybean crop at that time, but at least it looks like that this year the corn is going to be better than last year. And, of course, winter wheat is up, and I think it was last check, it was 23 inches, which is up 18 inches over last week, or from last week. So that's, what is that, about a 5-inch growth in a week's time? That's, that sounds pretty good to me. I don't know whether it is or not, but it sounds good anyway.
Yeah, I don't know anything about how fast it's supposed to grow, so I was going to let you tell me that. Was that good or not?
Well, we're a couple of novices, Like my expertise is weather. It's not in agricultural interest, but, I'm certainly concerned whenever they're having problems, because it does mean we're going to have problems at some point too. So, it's a good thing right now. I think we're going to be okay. We've been through worst weather times, and, it's just the way, life is. You have weather that just doesn't cooperate, and then sometimes you have nice stretches of weather. I will tell you, looking out into May, from what I'm seeing, and actually today is the first day of May, if I'm not mistaken.
It is.
This is May Day.
May Day. Why have I not heard that before?
I don't know. I've heard it, but usually it's an emergency situation.
Yeah, I know. No, I mean, I've not heard, the first day of May referred to as May Day. This is the first I've heard that. Go ahead. Go ahead with May Day, Dave.
Well, they used to put up maypoles I don't know if you know what those are or not.
Well,
do you know what maypoles are?
I have heard of a maypole. It had streamers like hanging down from it, and the kids would dance around it, or the older adolescent girls, something. I don't know. Tell me what a maypole is. Do you know what a maypole is, Dave?
Me.
You're bringing it up, so.
You're right. It is a painted pole decorated with flowers around which people traditionally dance on May Day. And normally it has long ribbons attached to the top of the pole. Now, what's it good for? I don't know. It's just a tradition.
I thought it had something to do with like courting, like I don't know. For some reason, it had some sort of tie to like what girl would date what boy or something. I don't know.
Well, there is.
Is that not true?
No,
I don't know what a maypole is, Dave.
Well, let's see. How do I begin?
With your Google search, is that how you're going to begin?
It was actually part of a pagan May Day festival known as Beltane, which is from United Kingdom and Ireland and some of the Germanic European countries. And the maypole dance was a fertility rite meant to symbolize the union of the masculine and feminine.
So see,
and that's,
I got that from somewhere. I knew it was somewhere in my head.
Yeah, well, you were not too far off. You're right.
Okay.
But during the festivities, villagers dance around the pole and weaving through each other while wrapping the maypole in ribbon and foliage. And those would be the feminine qualities in the hopes of bringing fertility to the livestock, the land, and the people living off of it. So, it's in some places, though, maypole dances have been viewed as scandalous at various points through history. Well, for obvious reasons, because of fertility thing and stuff like that. We won't go any further into that. But,
yeah, okay. All right.
But it was banned in 1644 by the British Parliament.
Is that right? Banned, huh?
B-A-N-N-E-D, banned.
Banned with a capital B.
Yeah, that was the old days. Now people are free to practice it wherever they want to. It's just not a real popular thing anymore like it used to be. But the whole purpose of the maypole dance was to, as you dance around it, you wrap the pole in ribbons, and that just makes it look pretty. Now, I don't know what good that is. But
so you've never danced around a maypole? Is that what you're trying to tell me, Dave?
I have never danced around a maypole.
All right. Well,
I have danced around a lot of topics, but never a maypole.
Like this one?
Like this one, yes.
You brought it up. I'm just going to say you brought it up. That's all I can tell you about that.
Anybody who wants to know more, has the same access to it as I do, you Google it.
Can Google just as good as you can, right?
It'll tell you everything you want to know about maypoles.
Yeah, Google knows everything, don't they?
Absolutely. So.
All right,
anyway,
Dave. Anything else you want to? We are. Do you have anything else you want to tell us about the weather before we go, though?
Well, it looks like the winds will increase. It's going to be, wherever you go for the next several days, take along an umbrella. It's not going to rain all the time, except maybe Saturday. But there will be a chance for showers and a few thunderstorms around. And the period of strongest weather looks like it would be Thursday night as the cold front comes through. But even then, the severe threat's not overly high. So anyway, have a great time. Enjoy your rest of the week and the weekend. And, Misty, I'll talk to you next week.
All right, Dave. Thank you for joining us.
Okay.
Weather forecaster Dave Powell here on Coffee Talk, telling us about all this rain coming up. I don't want to hear about that. Hopefully one of these days I'm going to call Dave and he's going to say, we're just going to have tons of sun for the next 3 weeks. All right. Probably not. Hey, I want to remind you this afternoon there is going to be a fine arts introduction for the girls basketball coach at the Fine Arts in Caldwell County. So it's going to take place at 3:15, and they're going to introduce the new girls basketball coach if you want to attend that.
Here's your WPKY Weather Edge Weather Center forecast.
It's spring, so that means a chance of rain, a 20% chance as a matter of fact, with mostly cloudy skies throughout the day and a high of 81. The chance of showers and thunderstorms moves up to 50% overnight with an overnight low around 64. Showers and thunderstorms will continue for tomorrow with a high of 80.
Showers and thunderstorms overnight tomorrow night with an overnight low around 60.